Well, hello there, my brothers and sisters. It's Josh Packard. Welcome to another episode of The Golden Image of Churchianity is a Lie. Thank you for joining me today. If this is your first time, I want you to know you've always been saved. And you're going to ask yourself, how come I didn't know that? Well, because the ones who were supposed to tell you that have been telling you you're a sinner, that you're not saved, that you have to repent, accept, believe, then act like they do, believe like they do, say the things they do, blah, 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 blah. Well, I'm here to tell you that's Antichrist. Christ has already purchased you with his own blood, whether you like it or not, whether I like it or not, whether anyone likes it or not. So, anyway, the whole world is astray because the church has been keeping them blind from the fact that they're children of God. That's why you see all these perversions and the world falling like it is because it just snowballs. All you need to do is have the first separation from God, which the church supplies you, not knowingly. Because what they do is they get you to turn and look at yourself for your worthiness and whether you've said the right prayer, you've done the right things or whatnot. And as soon as you turn and look at yourself, rather than believe that you're saved because Christ rose, rather than you professing all these things, well, as soon as they do that, they send you off on another path. Well, the path they send you on, they put this idea of righteousness so high that no one can even obtain to it. You're watching them; they don't even obtain to it, and you see the hypocrisy and you reject it. What naturally happens. That's what I did. That's what a lot of people did. But when you know Jesus as He is, you see that when you look at yourself, you can never see how you could be saved, and you'd be right. If you look at yourself, you're not worthy of anything. But if you look at Jesus, you could never see how you could be lost. Okay, that being said, yes, the last video I did was kind of making fun of people that kind of give a shit. Me, Patrick, Nick, Rob, you know what I mean? All the guys. Rashad, I got you this time. People give a shit, call us cult leaders, call us all these things, but we never do anything to harm them. We don't take from them. We don't lie to them. We don't lift ourselves above them. We don't close off salvation to them. We don't put the standard of righteousness way high. We don't do all this stuff like they're being told by their taskmasters. So they'll sit there and defend their taskmasters and abuse us, even though we don't take a dime from them. We don't belittle them. We don't raise ourselves above them. Rather, we put ourselves below you to show you the truth. We're not concerned about our righteousness. Don't follow me. I don't care. Follow Jesus. Jesus is the only reason why we're here. I have nothing that you should honor me for. None of my buddies do. We all admit it. We admit it profusely so that all glory and honor can go to the one who loved us and washed us in his own blood while we were his enemies. So, anyways, to go on with this, we were talking more about it, me and Nate and Doug and some other guys. We were talking about it, laughing because it's kind of like an abused wife or an abused husband you know what I mean? Because right now I'm going to tell you, when I was young, I was a simp. I didn't know God. I had no idea. My only worthiness that I could see, that I would accept is how many women I can get. And if women wanted me, then I knew I was worthy. If not, they didn't. So, just to let you in on a secret. The further a man is from God, the more submissive to women he'll become. He'll put them in the place of God, trying to get their approval and their sex and all these other things in order to feel like he's worthy. On the other side, a woman will dominate a man. If the further she is away from God, she'll want to dominate man for her own safety, to protect her emotions, to protect her livelihood and everything else. So she'll control, dominate, and manipulate in order to get the illusion of safety. So then when we move into today's vernacular, and what I'm going to talk about is simps, which I was a simp. Anyone can attest to that. I am no longer a simp. And that's because God showed me the truth. So when you look at the church system and what they do is they literally abuse you. And that's why you typically follow after them. There's a movie I saw a long time ago called The Tao of Steve. If you ever get a chance, if you know what I mean. It's a movie totally about your flesh, and it's how to get women, and it works really well once you understand the principles behind it, because it does to a fallen woman, because we pursue that which flees from us, and that's one of the statements in the movie, and it's kind of like the premise of how he does everything. So what you do is you take a woman out, On the way in, you treat her like a gentleman. You open the door for her, pull out her chair for her. You do everything, right? And you have a good time and whatnot. And then you go like to the bathroom. You just take too long. Make her sit by herself for a little while, and then come back, apologize. Then on the way out, you don't open the doors for her. You just have her walk to the car, and you take her home and drop her off, and you don't even kiss her or try to kiss her. You know what I mean? And then you call her, and then you say how much a good time you had, and you're just trying to be pure and take things slow because you've been hurt before, and blah 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 blah. And then you kind of hang out with her friends. You do stuff that makes her think about you. So you get her thinking that now he likes me, now he doesn't. Now he likes me, now he doesn't. And pretty soon, because in a woman's head, the more she thinks about you, the more enthralled she becomes of you. She thinks she's in love with you, and she will spread her legs for you. It's simple, easy mathematics. And I mean, that's how I racked up the numbers when I was young. I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying that because it's a fact. But also, it was actually a catalyst because I was so abused by women. I never figured out why whenever I tried to be nice to them and treat them well, then they would reject me and call me all these names. They wouldn't want to be with me. They put me in the friend zone and bang all my friends while I'm trying to be nice to them. Then I have to kick the crap out of my friends, So, anyway, then later on, I figured you just treat them like trash and they love you. And it's a sad thing. But now, let's take that into the church system. We pursue that which flees from us. So you're portrayed this God who, if you do this for him, he'll love you. If you say the right things, he'll love you. If you talk like this, believe this, follow these things, then he'll love you. Well, I mean, every one of us, at some point, we feel like we're falling short, which makes us redouble our efforts into religion. Well, the thing is, it's basically like you're a battered woman, or you're following this principle of not love. You're actually being hated, and hated causes you to follow. It's the weirdest thing in the world, and I'm guilty of it too. Don't think I'm pointing the fingers at you. I'm one who has seen the truth now. So, anyway, today, those of you who are in the church are just simps. Nick's funny. Nick Newsom, we were talking yesterday about it, and he's like, oh, yep. He says they're like simple men. They just let everybody walk all over them. You know what I mean? Just a little, and it's funny because, like, if you look at women and they laugh at a guy who treats them well and does all these things while they're young until they get old and they want to find somebody, but then now they can't find anybody because they're too busy being hoes, and so. But when they get older, they can't find anybody, and the men that they wanted to get with now can get the women because now they're educated, they have a career, stable, they have all this stuff that the women wanted or thought they wanted back then, but they didn't, because women want the control and they want attention and all this other things. And as a man, that's what it makes sense. You would think to give them those things and you would get what you want from them, but it doesn't work that way. So. Let's think about this. We have the pimps in the hose, and we have the simps in the hose. And I'm sorry, ladies, I'm using it as a common vernacular. This guy named Darius M. I've been watching on YouTube, and if you guys check it out, but it's funny. He shows you absolutely the nature of women and catches them in all these things and these interviews, and you really see the heart behind a fallen woman. And it's sad, trust me, and it's sad for us too, men. Because we're using them and they're using us. They think it's funny when we bend over for them and do this stuff for them. They have no respect for a simp. Not at all. At all. They want the asshole. Well, that doesn't make for relationships. Just so you know. You can get laid, you can do whatever you want, but that doesn't make a relationship with somebody. So you see the condition of the world. Women are whores. Men are just trying to get in their pants with all their little hearts. And you're thinking, and it's all backwards the way it's supposed to be. Because a woman who is far away from God will seek the headship, control, manipulate, dominate, to try to protect herself. And they'll all say it openly that they'll do it for that reason. And then men will simp in order to try to get their sexual needs, their attention, their feeling of satisfaction, their feelings of righteousness, and all these other things, but it never comes, and both are left empty. Okay? So when you come into the church system, you have the abusive pastors and the leadership, which it always attracts bullies and the abusers. Always those typical positions of leadership, because these people want attention, right? Well, the way they keep you coming back is they make you feel like you need to depend on them and that they're a higher caliber than you are because they have some sort of doctrine or they've been a Christian or a missionary or whatever. So they want you to think that there's something more to them. They think that by knowing Greek and Hebrew that they have some sort of special advantage over you or whatever, and that's what they convince you of. And it's all bullshit because the entire idea of religion is based on just it's a power struggle and a power dicot or how do you it's a power pyramid. So what we want to do is get out of that system, and the way you do that is you get nearer to God and you quit simping and you start pimping, right? And I'm going to use that just because it's funny, because I think it's funny. Pimping and simping. Which one are you? Are you a pimp or a simp? So today we're going to talk about the book of Song of Solomon, and it's such a good book. You guys got to understand it. It really displays how love should be and how it should operate. There's another movie quote. There's a movie called Life is Beautiful by Alberto Benigni, and it's one of the best movies I've ever seen in my life. It is really a great movie. It's about a guy who gets taken into the Nazi camps, the concentration camps, as a Jew, and his son sneaks in with him, and he doesn't realize that his son's with him until he gets in there. Well, then his son doesn't know what's going on, so he spends all of his effort trying to convince his son it's just all a game. So every time he sees his son, even if he's dead tired, he brightens up and he's like, "Oh, it's just a game. We're playing," even though he's just watched somebody get killed or whatever. You know what I mean? And he's trying to keep this fantasy alive for his child. And at the end of the movie, he made it through. It's a touching movie. But there's a part in the movie that I always find to be really relevant. It's when he's trying to learn how to be a waiter in his uncle's restaurant. And his uncle's an expert waiter, and he just keeps messing up, and he can't figure it out. And finally, his uncle says, "Listen to me." He says, "When you think of a servant," he says, "think of Jesus Christ. He served, but he was no servant. He served, but he was the king of all." Well, what he was doing was serving from the position of a simp. He wasn't serving from the position of a pimp. Okay? And I'm using these words because you can kind of understand what's going on. A simp is pretty much the opposite of a pimp. So anyway, in the Song of Solomon, Solomon was definitely a pimp. Okay, so we start off with this whole idea that he held himself aloof, and he's someone who's got means. He's got his own life going on, right? And the Shulamite woman comes and sits down and asks for even permission to be in his presence. And then he tells her how beautiful she is and lifts her all up. But then he splits. And so she's left wondering where he is and all this other stuff. And so then he comes back and he's like, but everything is on his timing. He had these priorities, and then she was there. And then he had priority, then she is there. So it's always this idea that it's not that things are more important, it's just that he's got things going on that are more important than just trivial, like the stupid love we think it is. Like most people think you just meet someone and fall in love and it's over, love happily ever after, and that's bullshit. Love is commitment, and every single day choosing to love, even though you see everything your partner is, even though you see how ugly they are on the inside, they get ugly on the outside. I mean, there's nothing about marriage that you stay because of your love, this just innate amazing love that you have for your partner. It's not how it works. You choose every day to love and to stick and abide and to choose to come close together rather than separating every day. Okay, so what he does is first of all he lifts her up. He's in the position of the pimp. She is where the woman's supposed to be. So as they're going along, he takes off for a while. And he tells her, he never lets her know he doesn't love her. He tells her, "I love you," from the very first day. He tells her how beautiful she is and how wonderful and how wanted she is. But then he goes and does his business, right? So anyway, this interesting part that I always saw over and over again was she always says this, and she says it 1, 2, 3 times throughout this short little book. But she says, I charge you, O you daughters of Jerusalem, by the roes and by the hinds of the field, that you stir not up nor awaken my love till he pleases. See, today, anytime a woman will let you put it in her, you'll do it in a second. That's what we're taught. That just, if that you get that opportunity to tab that chick, you got to get on it, right? But that's not love, and that's not how God ordained this whole thing. The man who can refrain from that, who can set his priorities higher than that, and love a woman not just for her body, not for her vagina, because typically love is transactional. Women, give sex for love, and men will love for sex. It's just this payment back and forth, and that's why nothing ever works out. Same thing in the church is if you're doing good enough, you're approved. If you're not doing good enough, you're not. It's this love and hate deal all the time. It's always transactional. So anyway, we go through this whole thing. So he shows up and then he takes off. And it's all this. It's always this. He initiates and then she reciprocates. That's the way it is. So there's this one point I always find this really interesting. Is he's staring at her through the lattice, admiring her, and he lets her catch him, right? So she can see that he's doing it. And this is after he's been away or he's doing whatever he's got to do, and he comes back. So she's left wondering about him all this time. Like, does he love me, or is he gonna be there for me? Even though he says I love you, she's still worried, and she goes and searches for him, and it stirs up inside of her this attraction towards him, to where she's chasing him. And this is the way it's supposed to be. You're supposed to be pimping, not simping, right? So remember, you as a man, you need to be wholesome. You can't, even if a woman offers you her body, you say, yeah, maybe we should wait for that, and then go take a few days off and go do something where you can get your mind clear from it. But you need to call the shots, not her, when it comes to sex. Okay. When it comes to love, when it comes to romance, and the timing for things. Because she does it 3 times, she says that same thing. She says it 3 times in this little short book. Don't wake up my love. Don't stir him up. Don't do anything until he pleases. And that's literally what he's doing. He's holding himself in that position of, I'll come when I'm ready. I'll be here when I want to be. I'll be here. He doesn't go and cheat on her. He doesn't go and flaunt other women in his face. Or in her face. That's not what you do. It's just a matter of completely saying, I will never leave. I'm here for you. I love you, but I got shit to do. So she doesn't think she is like your boss controlling you. So that's moving on to why women are not allowed to preach in any churches, or teach, or to be in any authority over men anywhere at any time. It's because of a woman's greatest sin that she must overcome is her fear of not being provided for, her fear of not being appreciated, and all these other things which women are always constantly whining about all the time, like universally, because that's their natural sin that they have to dominate. And so you can't feed into that. And then a man on the other side, that's why a woman must submit to a man if he's not a believer, so that he'll take the reins. So she'll hang out, trust in God that he is going to provide for her, and then let him sort shit out. Say, okay, well, I'm not going to work if you need to work. And if he doesn't work, then you're like, okay, and you just wait until he has to work. You don't put yourself in the position of the controller. Ever. Because if you do that, you dishonor God, and you lift yourself above the head whom he's put over you, whether you like it or not. Anyway, so the Song of Solomon talks about how love is supposed to be. It's supposed to be generated by the man, controlled by the man, having self-control and discipline, not to where he's just enticed by her at any time that she wills. But we all are. I'm guilty of that 1,000 times. If a girl says, right now, you mean right now? Okay. You mean right here? Yep, okay. You know what I mean? I was that same way. I would do it anywhere. I'd do it in public. I didn't care. I was like, man, I got the opportunity to get it. I'm going to get it. But that's only what weak men do. That's what those sissies do. They're so full of iniquity and so full of just emptiness that it's like we jump at it. But it shows that we're weak men. And the women use it against us because we'll jump like that. And so you see all these men out there simping around, paying for everything, taking women out to dinner and paying for their dinners and laughing with them and getting stuck in friend zones because they're being simps. From now on, you don't do that. You take them, go for a walk. You don't spend any money on them. If she doesn't have time for you, you don't have time for her. Move on. It's just, you got to be solid in the Lord. I'm to the point now with the Lord that I'm so full with Him. I don't need my wife for my happiness. I don't need it. I don't need anything from anyone for my happiness or for my self-righteousness or so the way I feel or anything. I don't care. It doesn't mean anything to me anymore. It's one of the straightest gifts I've ever got in my life is that God has freed me from my being dominated by women and by weak or by men that I perceive to be tough or whatever. I don't have any fear anymore. It's easy to be bullied when you inside of yourself don't think you're very much of anything at all. But whenever the Lord shows you your position and who you are and what it's going to cost if you don't take your position, you have a much, much more solid life. Because I was always stronger than everyone. I mean, I could bench press 635 with a t-shirt. I used to squat 850, deadlift 1,000 pounds in just shorts. No knee wraps, no nothing. Not even a belt. I mean, I was very, very strong. I was tough. I could fight. You want to fight me? I'm going to fight you. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I was, so powerful that I mean, there's really nobody. I mean, I just dominated. But inside, I was this little pussy. Never thought I was any good. You know what I mean? It sucks. And that's why I simped. But now I look at women, and I'm going to tell you the truth. Don't hate me. Don't do anything you want. But I was down in Costa Rica. I was in a low point. And I'd never been there before. And I was lonely. And prostitution's legal there. I'd never, ever tried anything with a prostitute ever in my life. And I never will again. But down there I did. And anyway, after that, it was like women are put down here where they belong. I used to have women up on this pedestal because I thought they were the fairer sex. I thought that we were the dogs and they were the virtuous ones and we're the bad guys and they're the good girls. Because I was raised in California. I was raised under the lie. But now I know that there is no victims in this world, and women, no matter how bad I was, those women are 10 times worse than me. I don't look at women with rose-colored glasses anymore. I know the truth. Women are not worthy of any respect or honor, for the most part. There are some. My wife is actually pretty straight-laced. I couldn't believe it. But most women, I mean, if they had as many wieners on the outside of them as they had on the inside, they'd be porcupines, honestly. And then they act like they're all good, and they try to act like they're all pure, and you're the dog, and it's like, shut up. You know what I mean? So, anyways, today, I want you guys to know that you have to put God in the position of the kingship in your life. Then you have got to step in the kingship position and be pimping and not simping in order to manifest the will of God in your relationships. I'm not saying be abusive. I'm just saying stand your ground. When you know something's wrong or it doesn't feel right, don't do it. If a woman makes you feel less, then say, you know what? See you then. See how you like it without me for a little bit. And just go off. See it. She'll be there and she'll follow you. Because everyone, when you leave, they'll chase you. Anytime, if you're dating somebody, all you got to do is go talk to one of her friends. She'll turn right around. And she'll get mad, but it'll make her stick around. I mean, it's a really funny thing. Just check out that Darius M. I mean, it's stuff I've known for a long time, but he does a great job of bringing it right to the surface. For any man that's simping, go watch his shit. You won't be simping for very much longer, because you'll start seeing that you're genuinely trying to help them and trying to build a relationship. You're trying to lift them out of being hoes, because they're damaging themselves, and it's like, it's too bad because you're so beautiful. Why are you? Hopefully I can bring you out of that. That's the mindset you go on, but you don't. They don't care. The more you give them attention, the more you lift them up, the more you enable them to be hoes. Just saying. So, anyway, I want to kind of read this portion right here. where there's a portion where she she locked the door and she didn't come to him quickly as she should have, and then he left. And anyway, she is so sick with desire because he left. When a woman treats you that way, or when the church treats you that way, or when anything goes on, you just say no. Not going to handle that. I'm not going to fall for it. I'm not going to submit to it. You know, I've seen many marriages fall apart because men haven't made a clean cut from their families, or women haven't made clean cuts from their families, and they're on their own, standing on their own 2 feet. Even if they're struggling, they refuse to let their families in, and they build their relationship together. I mean, there's so much going on with this simping thing. Anyway, let's say this is the part I want to read in Song of Solomon to you. The torment of separation is what it's labeled in my Bible. I sleep, but my heart wakes. It is the voice of my beloved that knocks, saying, "Open to me, my sister, my love, my dove, my undefiled. For my head is filled with dew, and my locks with the drops of the night." And she says, "I have put off my coat, how shall I put it on? I have washed my feet, how shall I defile them?" Okay, first of all, this is like Martha and Mary. Also, it's really an attempt at feminism right here, and her attempt to dominate him. And I mean, and I know this from experience, and this is how he responds. Watch. He didn't get up. He didn't yell at her. He didn't do anything. He's like, "Oh, all right, see ya." I rose up to open to my beloved. After she said that, talk shit to him, she goes, "Oh, now I rose up to open to my beloved, and my hands dropped with myrrh, and my fingers with sweet-smelling myrrh upon the handles of the lock." He didn't get mad. He didn't get upset. He didn't let her ruffle him. I opened to my beloved, but my beloved had withdrawn himself and was gone. My soul failed when he spoke. I sought him out, but I could not find him. I called him, but he gave me no answer. This is how you deal with a woman who gets all uppity and thinking she's going to control you, manipulate, and dominate you. You know what I mean? The watchmen that went about the city found me, and they smote me. They wounded me. The keepers of the walls took my veil from me. I charge you, O daughters of Jerusalem, if you find my beloved, that you tell him I am sick with love. What is thy beloved more than another beloved? Art thou fairest among women? O thou fairest among women? What is thy beloved more than any other beloved, that you do charge us? My beloved is white and ruddy, the chiefest among 10,000. His head is as the head of the most fine gold. His locks are all bushy and black as a raven. His eyes are the eyes of doves by the rivers of water, washed with milk and fitly set. His cheeks are a bed of spices as sweet flowers. His lips like lilies, dropping sweet-smelling myrrh. His hands are as gold rings set with the beryl. His belly is as bright as ivory overlaid with sapphires. His legs are pillars of marble, set upon sockets of fine gold. His countenance is as Lebanon, excellent as the cedars. His mouth is most sweet. Yes, he is altogether lovely. This is my beloved, and this is my friend, O daughters of Jerusalem. Okay, now what happened is he wasn't mean to her. He didn't go out and cheat on her. He didn't do anything. He says, "All right, see ya," and then she couldn't find him. That drove her nuts. He didn't do anything wrong, but that seems to really work with women. So you know, you're not threatening you're going to leave on them. You're not threatening you're going to do anything, but you just mosey on. And once they look for you and wonder where you are, it will rekindle their humility towards you. Because I'm going to tell you right now, women need us a lot more than we need them, and that is for damn sure. And women will cheat way more than men will. And 80% of divorces are by women because they expect their men to simp. Well, they marry the simp, and then they go and then they want to have the pimp, and that's what happens. Is they get sick and bored of the simps, and then so they go out and try to get the pimp, but then the pimp treats them like shit, and then now they're back in their same hole, and they're chasing the pimp again. until they get so tired of it, and they can try to come back to what they think a simp is, and the simp's already moved on. I mean, you gotta understand. What do you want to be? Do you want to be a pimp or a wimp? Anyway, I hope that's funny for you guys. It's funny to me. We're talking about Jesus stuff, talking about simps and pimps and hoes. But it's really a good way we can see what's going on. But seriously, check out that Darius M. If you're a single guy, or if you're having troubles with women, or you are a simp yourself, go check that out. But God is He'll fill your heart and fill a desire that you desire and long for from a woman. The Lord will fill that for you, so you don't need her for that anymore. And if you have sex, it's because you want to have sex, not because you're actually manipulated into it. As well as she's going to get you to pay for her dinner and her car payment, maybe, or some other thing on the way. And most times she'll make it feel like you're going to get that stuff and won't give it to you anyways because you're a simp and she wants a pimp. All this is for the church to show you what's going on. They're teaching you to be simps. They're pimps, or acting like pimps. They're trying to be the pimps, and you guys are the simps or the hoes, one or the other. But either way, you're chasing them because they seem to be better than you. They put themselves above you. They act as though they're more holy than you. They tell you should read your Bibles like they do. That you should go be missionaries like they are. That you should do all these things that they're doing, checking all these boxes. They're all so fake. They can never be open in front of their congregation because they'll lose their congregation. The pastors fail all the time because they're so filled with their flesh. They're so full of shit. So completely full of shit. And then you get like all these little pastor groupies. And these chicks love it because these men are the bullies. They go and become alphas. And that's what typically a pastor's going to try to be an alpha. They're going to want to be an alpha. That's who they are. And they're going to make betas follow them. So, and it doesn't matter how tough you are. You can fight. Good. You're still a beta. You're still following women. You're still sucking on the tit. You're still following people who abuse you. Even though you can kick their ass, they're still owning you. Even though you're tough, and even though you can hold your own, and you work 12-hour days, and you're tougher than hell, and you got these calluses on your hands, and you got everything, and you're still a simp. You're still a beta boy. And that's literally, you escape that through the knowledge of Christ. It fills you, makes you whole, fills you with substance and strength inwardly. It makes you not tolerate shit and to be run over and pushed over. You don't care anymore. You don't care what people think or feel. At least towards you. You don't care. You don't care how they. You don't care. You don't live or die by their opinions anymore. You don't care. And so ask. I mean, I know all my friends are agreeing with me. So I have, we'll say Nick, and we'll see if Patrick agrees. See if my buddy Doug or Nate or anybody else, Rashad. Look at these guys. Do you think they're going to be simps? I know some of the guys that look weak, that are like 135 pounds, 150 pounds, but they walk around like they're pimps. You know what I mean? And then I see these big 300-pound dudes walking around like they're simps. And it's like, dude, you could absolutely crush that guy. It's like, why would you be so worried about him? Anyway, I know this stuff's kind of going off on a rant a little bit here, but I really want you to see that this is what's going on. You're making a simp. The Song of Solomon is about being a pimp. All right, my brothers and sisters, have a great day. I hope this was fun and entertaining for you. See ya.